Welcome to another mindfulness session. Really nice to see you all here. So just to give you a heads up that we are, like I mentioned last time, we are experimenting with live streaming to Instagram. So I've got my camera and my phone set up just here. So that's going out as well, just so you know. But also, I think if we've got it right, we're going to be streaming to our YouTube channel as well. So in a moment, you'll see a recording notification come up as always. So that just tells you that we're recording the session, but as always, it's only my webcam that gets recorded. And that's the same with YouTube. It's only my webcam that's going to be streamed. So if you guys have a webcam, there's the announcement. If you have a webcam and you are comfortable being seen, then it's always nice to be sitting in front of a screen where we can see everybody else. Because as I always say, even though we are in different parts of the world, it can still feel like we're in the same room. At least it does for me in many ways. So let's see, what time are we at? Beautiful. We are at 7:30. So I'm in the UK. I'm in Brighton. My name is Solomon, for anybody who doesn't know me. So it's 7:30 p.m., which is British summertime. And I know, sometimes I ask you where you guys are in the world and what time it is. And yeah, I don't know whether I'll do that today because I know that you are everywhere. I know people join at like 2 or 3 a.m. and they come in and join us. Maybe they're struggling to sleep or needing to really study hard that evening. It's a really helpful time to just check in, de-stress a little bit before going back to it. Okay, so we're going to move into today's session. And we're actually going to begin with a practice to help us arrive here. So we'll do a short practice, we'll have a chat about it, and then we'll move into a slightly longer practice. And of course, as I always say, if anything during the session feels a little bit uncomfortable, you feel a little bit overwhelmed or anxious, it's just not quite the time for you to be practicing, then please always know that you can make that choice to maybe, if you have your eyes closed, you can open them back up, or you can take your attention somewhere else, somewhere that feels more comfortable, that's going to put you in a better place. Usually people almost always find that a mindfulness practice really helps bring around a sense of balance and focus. But sometimes if we're beginning out with mindfulness and we haven't got much experience and there's a lot going on for us at the time, then sometimes it can be a little bit bumpy. So just always know, there's always a decision that you can make there. So, as I said, we're going to do a practice that helps us to arrive. And you may be thinking, well, so I've arrived. What are you talking about? I'm right here. And of course you are. In one way, your body is here. Your physical body is here, present, sitting on a chair, looking at me. But there's a whole other aspect of our experience as well. It is our mind. Where is our attention right now? Because even though you're sitting here, it's quite possible that you're still a little bit preoccupied with the last thing that you were doing today, or something that was frustrating you that's still ticking over. Or maybe you're thinking about the thing you've got to do next, the next thing on the to-do list, the next set of studies to do. And that's fine. That's how our minds work. So we're going to do an arrival practice to help bring our minds into the same places where our bodies are, which is here. And we're going to use the breath to do that. Our breathing is a really powerful tool that we have that can help ground us. And by ground us, I really mean just another way to center us, to bring our attention into the present moment. Now, usually with mindfulness, with many mindfulness practices, we're just observing the natural flow of the breath. And there's a lot of insight, a lot of learning that we can do from that. But also sometimes, particularly at the beginning of a mindfulness practice or at certain times during the day, and I'll explain afterwards when during the day you might want to use a practice like this, you can actually, to some extent, control the breath. By controlling the breath, by regulating it, it can really help us calm down. If there's any anxiety or stress, it can allow it to settle. If our mind feels particularly scattered, it can help bring it into the present moment. So let's give it a go. It's just going to be for about 2 or 3 minutes. As I always say in these sessions, if there's anything that might be nearby that could be distracting, the invitation is always maybe to just put that to one side. If there are notes in front of you, if there's a phone that might beep, just doing whatever you need to do so that you can be present for this session. Awesome. So let's find a way of sitting that's going to feel comfortable just for the next 3 minutes or so. Whatever that means to you, but something that's going to encourage the mind and the body to feel awake and alive. And you can close your eyes if that feels comfortable. You don't have to do it, but if it's going to help us focus rather than be distracted with what we can see around us, then maybe close the eyes. And just for the first minute, just allow the body to breathe just naturally. No need to change anything to start with. Just allowing the body, the mind to settle. Just having a sense, an awareness of the breath moving in and out of the body as you breathe. No need to control it. And as you do this, of course, maybe you notice that the mind is quite agitated or easily distracted. It's not a problem, doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means that the mind is busy in this moment, and that's fine. So just being present with the breath. And then in a moment, we're going to move into a pattern of breathing where you're going to silently count to yourself up to the count of 4 as you breathe in. And then pause for 4, breathe out for 4, and then pause for 4. And you just repeat this rhythm of breathing and pausing. And so counting at your own pace, whatever feels right for you. Not breathing too slowly so that it feels uncomfortable, but just experimenting. Counting at the right pace for you. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Pausing, 2, 3, 4. Breathing, 2, 3, 4. And pausing, 2, 3, 4. And perhaps you found a pace that's a little bit slower than that. You can just allow the breath to slow down at whatever still feels comfortable for you, and just keep this going for a couple of minutes. And each time the mind gets distracted or you lose count, no judgment, just gently bring the attention back once again, and carrying on breathing and counting. Allowing yourself, if your body is asking for it, to breathe slightly deeper, allowing the oxygen to reach all parts of the body. Always remembering, if this ever feels uncomfortable, allowing yourself to breathe in a way that's going to feel a little bit more natural. Don't need to get lightheaded. And so as we breathe like this, we just tell the body, we tell the nervous system that we're okay. It can relax. There's no threat. We just allow the body and the mind to unwind. So with the sound of that bell, you can keep your eyes closed just for a moment if they are closed. You can just allow the breath to just go back to normal. No need to control it. Just allow the body to breathe all by itself. And then when you're ready, you can open up those eyes and you can rejoin the community. And come back onto screen. And as I often invite you to, if you wish to stretch the body out a little bit, then that's always welcome. A little massage, a little stretch. You know, the theme of this in many ways is the connection between mind and body. So we can do that, we can create that connection through the breath, through observing, through controlling, and also through movement, through releasing tension in the body intentionally. So for everybody in the Zoom room, we have the chat box open. You can just find my name, and it'd be really interesting just to know, how did you find that practice? What did you notice? You can just find my name, Solomon. And as always, it's lovely to know your name, where in the world you are, and yeah, let me know, how are you feeling? How did that practice feel? Let's pop this chat out so I can see it a bit larger. Okay. Just having a look on the Instagram as well, seeing if there's anyone writing anything there. Okay, so we've got some people writing some things in. I'll give you a little bit more time. We have someone who says the breathing helped to become a little bit more self-aware. If someone, Aperv from India, said it felt really, really calming. Victor says, I was purely concentrated on the counting of the breaths. That's Victor from Guatemala. And Arbel says, it was very relaxing. I was less distracted today. Interesting. We have a couple of people there. Oh no, one person. So we have Josephina who says, I couldn't finish. I did get a bit anxious in the middle of the practice and I stopped. So thank you, Josephina, for being honest and open with that. It's really important. This is not a space where we pretend everything's always great. The regulars here know that this is something I say quite a lot. I think it's really important that we are honest with what our experiences was, because it's through that honesty and openness that we can understand the experience a little bit better and find ways to work with it. And I'm really glad that you noticed that there was some anxiety present. And that's great. That's not doing the practice wrong. That's just noticing what was happening in your experience, and you took the decision to stop. I know certainly back in the day when I was first starting a mindfulness practice, I had this mindset and mentality that I had to keep going no matter what, because to stop would be to fail. And I think it's so important. It's a real sign of maturity that to be able to say, you know what, this doesn't feel right for me in this moment. I'm going to stop. So Josephine, I hope you're feeling okay. I hope stopping the practice worked for you. And let me know as well as we go in this session, how you progress, how things unfold. So I'll just read out a couple more. We have Zai, who says it makes me feel safe. Someone says I almost fell asleep. Absolutely. It's because we are relaxing the body, we're relaxing the mind. So it's really natural that sometimes we relax it so much that sleep can come about. No problems. Mariana says it felt so calming. I did it in a public space, but today's was easy. Bianca says this is the first time I've tried it. It was very calming. Someone says I was on a flight today and didn't sleep well last night, and still couldn't relax when I reached home 7 hours ago. This has allowed me to feel a little relaxed, and I'll probably be able to sleep now. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank you for letting us know. I'm really glad it could help. Mariana says you were repeating some of the words during a meditation. Mariana, yeah, I absolutely would have repeated certain instructions within that. Let me know what you mean by that and I can respond to it maybe. Someone says the breathing technique definitely helps. I think your voice always plays an important part to stimulate the mind to settle down. Tena from Brazil, my body feels uncomfortable because today is so hot here, but my mind feels very relaxed and calm after this practice. Beautiful. Oh, and a thank you from Josephina for the response. So we have a few more messages. I'm aware of the time, so I apologize if I didn't read out everyone's responses. I read everyone's comments afterwards. I read everything and can get back to you afterwards, but I'm just aware of the time for the session, so let's keep going. Oh, before we move into the next practice, actually, one thing I wanted to mention is that a practice like that where we work with the breath, there are 3 times in the day when I would most recommend using it. One would be when you first wake up. It can be a really great way to start the day. So often I find that some anxiety creeps in the moment I wake up. Like it's just there, it's just present. I don't know why necessarily, but if I can work with my breath straight away, it sets me up for the next thing that I do. If I do my breathing, I'm a little bit less likely to have those anxious thoughts escalate or go straight to my phone or some distraction because my mind and body is a bit calmer. The other time I would recommend using it would be before you go to sleep or to help you prepare for sleep. Sleep is so important, so important. And if we can use a short mindfulness practice to help us sleep better, then let's give it a go. And the other time is during the day, at any time. If you're feeling a little bit unsure, stressed, insecure, anything that's feeling a little bit uncomfortable, you've got to practice now. You don't need to close your eyes. You don't need to be in a personal, private space. You can just work with your breath. You can do it while you're walking down the street. I did it today, actually, on my way back home. I did it on the way back home. And it just calmed me down for when I got back in. So anytime maybe you're going to go into a meeting or an exam or something that's coming up that's going to stress you, maybe for 2 minutes beforehand, give something like this a go. Okay, let's move into our second practice. So let's just find a way of sitting. It's going to feel comfortable for the next 10 minutes maybe. So as I talk about posture, it's anything that feels right for you, but for me, that often means that I've got my 2 feet planted firmly on the floor. My back is a little bit forward away from the back of the chair. So I'm supporting my own spine, and my chin is often tucked in a little bit so the spine is nice and long. So see what works for you. And then again, when you're ready, you can just allow the eyes to gently and gradually close. And let's just take a moment to just become familiar, this sense of the body just sitting here. Nothing in particular we need to achieve or do right now. Just having a sense of the space that the body occupies in the room. Maybe you notice as you do this, there are certain muscles, parts of the body that are feeling a little bit tense. So you're holding tight, which don't need to be held tight. So perhaps scanning through your body with your attention and just noticing, maybe the jaw feels a little bit tight, or the eyes are a little bit tense. Maybe we're holding in our bellies, or the shoulders are being held up and scrunched. Maybe down in the feet or in the hands, without meaning to. There's just a sense of holding here. And when you notice that, there's no need to force anything to change too firmly. You can just allow this tension to just unravel. So often in day-to-day life, there are things that we feel we need to do and achieve, and that's really important in many ways. When we tune into the here and now with a mindful approach, we're just noticing how things are. There's no sense that anything needs to be any different from how they are. And so now taking our attention down into the feet, and just noticing how it feels in this part of the body right now. We're not looking for any special sensations. It may be the touch of the feet against the floor beneath us. Or socks or shoes that we notice wrapped around the feet. Maybe we notice a sense of temperature, of heat or coolness. Maybe there's an awareness of each individual toe, the spaces between the toes. And so then allowing the mind to start to focus, not on the feet, but now on the place where the body makes contact with the seat beneath it or behind it. And again, just allowing the mind to rest here for a moment. Sense of pressure, of weight, of gravity. Noticing if this is felt evenly, or maybe the weight is feeling a little bit more than one side of the body, to the left or to the right, forward or backwards. As well as that gravity, maybe there's a sense of being held and supported by the seat beneath you. Sense of balance, of groundedness appears perhaps. And then moving the attention once again out into the hands. And again, not looking for any particular experience. Just noticing how the hands feel in this moment. Maybe there's a sense of touch of one hand against the other, or of resting in the lap or on the knees. Maybe you notice a gentle breeze against the skin. Maybe there's a little bit of tension that's crept back in that you can just allow to unfold as you become aware of it. And then lastly, if it feels comfortable for you, bringing the attention now down into the belly, into the abdomen. Just having a felt sense of the breath moving in this part of the body. Noticing if the oxygen makes its way all the way down there, so that the belly inflates slightly with the in-breath and falls back again with the out-breath. Sometimes when we focus on the breath, we can think of it as a mini homecoming. The breath always available to us in every moment. To steady our mind, to bring ourselves into the present. To remind ourselves of our living essence. And now just before we finish, just allowing the attention to zoom out. Focus wider, focus out. And just returning again to a felt sense of the whole body sitting here. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. No sense of achievement or judgment. Just of being. And so with the sound of that bell, our practice comes to an end. And just like at the end of the last practice, maybe giving your body a bit of gentle movement that it would appreciate. A little stretch or a massage. And just notice how the body feels, how the mind feels. We have just a couple of minutes left. So I'd be really happy to hear again from you, your response to that practice, how you're feeling, if you have any questions. I'll be able to read just a couple of those out, and then I'll give my usual comments about these sessions and how they can be found and when we run them and all those things that many of you already know. But yeah, let me know, how was that practice? How did it feel? Did you notice much tension in the body? Okay. So someone says it made me feel somehow impatient. Absolutely. I don't think that's, you're the only person who felt impatient. I wonder, I can already see people nodding. Should we have a hands up? Like, who else during that practice had a vague sense of like, oh, a little bit of squirmishness, like, oh, there's other things to do, I've got to get on and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, right. So like a bunch of blue hands and hands on the, yeah, I'd say what, 50% of the people. Yeah, thank you. So this sense of impatience, again, it doesn't mean we're doing it wrong. It's really common, it's really normal, because kind of impatience is usually our default setting in our cultures, right? It's like, what's the next thing? How can I get through this moment quicker so that I can move on to the next thing? So if there's a sense of impatience, great noticing. And maybe as we continue to practice mindfulness, you become more familiar with that impatience. And maybe if there's a sense of judgment of, oh, I shouldn't be so impatient, I should be feeling really calm right now, maybe in time that will lessen. You can let that go. And as you practice and you become more familiar with being in a state of non-distraction, you become more comfortable with the moment, and there is less impatience. But we see it's a journey, but great noticing. Okay, someone says, in each practice, my experiences become even more wild. Okay. This time, while my eyes were closed, I was also instinctually humming. I opened my eyes in a forest, and all of it was wondrous and vivid. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Yeah, so sometimes we go into these deeper states and we get very relaxed. Absolutely, things from the subconscious can come up a little bit. Helps us, we can process information a little bit. But that's great. And if you had this similar experience, then I'm interested to hear. And if nothing like that happened and you just kind of spent most of that time feeling quite distracted, then join the club. That's my life. So it's all good. Okay, maybe a couple more because I know we're running out of time. Okay, so someone's saying makes me notice my own body instead of notice things around me. Nice. And Hannibal says, in the end, I noticed that I repeated all your sentences in my head, so I didn't start to wonder. In addition, I was really focused and feel so much better for it. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing to notice, actually, Hannibal. So what you're noticing there is a process that's taking part in your brain. It's a thought. So you hear my words, and then you can hear yourself repeating them back to yourself, and we can sometimes call that mental talk. It's a way of observing our thoughts. Sometimes we think in auditory ways, so we can hear ourselves speak. When we imagine ourselves having conversations with people, often those arguments we've had with people where we wish we had said something more intelligent than the time before, than what we actually said. Oh, I've frozen. Hey, sorry, I froze. It happens. For those who come regularly, you know it's a thing. So yeah, when we think, sometimes we hear those more as sounds. So if you imagine, sometimes if you're replaying an event in your mind, sometimes that will be more visual, and sometimes it will be more audible, and often, quite often both. So yeah, you just were hearing and being present for a process that your brain was going through, interpreting my words, which is great awareness. Okay, we are at 8 p.m. where I am, which means it's the end of our session, and it means the beginning of your open mic session. So that means I head out, you guys can unmute. And as always, the reminder is to communicate, to use this as a forum to communicate mindfully, to communicate with awareness and with kindness. So the hope is that we practice mindfulness not just for the benefit of the experience in that moment, but so that we can learn and develop a skill that continues afterwards and starts to seep in to the rest of our lives. So perhaps if you notice that you're becoming quite distracted, or maybe there's an emotion bubbling up, maybe use the breathing technique that we tried today to just gather yourself and center yourself a little bit. And let's just be kind and open with our words and with people who are new to the community as well. I mean, you always are, but I just think it's nice to remind us that we can have mindful speech and mindful listening as well as the formal mindfulness practice. So that's everything. I'm going to head off, guys. I don't think it's going to be me on Friday. So just as a reminder, these sessions happen every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this same time. So it's 7:30 p.m. UK time. So whenever this started where you are, it will start at the same time. I'm at a friend's wedding on Friday. So unless you want me to be running the session from the dance floor, doing my shapes, then it's not going to be me, but one of the other wonderful StudyStream mindfulness teachers will hopefully be able to fill in. So be sure to come along for that. That's everything, guys. Hope you have a wonderful conversation. Have a great rest of the day or evening, and I will see you on Monday. Cool. Bye, guys.